Well, 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 how the turntables have turned. Hey, what's going on, everyone? Greg here, and the iPhone SE 2020 is also finally here, and we owe a very, very big special thank you to John Prosser. That's because the video I did about 2 weeks ago was 100% accurate on the release date of April 15th. John Prosser leaked that date, and that's one of the reasons I was able to be so accurate in my information to everyone who's watching. And if you aren't already a listener to the GadgetCast podcast or joining us in our live streams every Sunday at 5 p.m., you are missing out big time, because that's when we first heard about all of these iPhone SE leaks, and we actually just had John Prosser join us on our latest show, and he gave a lot of leaks and information about some upcoming Apple products and software. So after his prediction of this release date, there's a lot of weight behind his predictions or rumors now, so I would definitely go check that episode out. Now, because Apple did announce this new iPhone SE via a press release and didn't give it a dedicated event with any stage time, there are a lot of details that you should know about before you purchase this phone. So for this video, we're gonna do what we usually do and go over all the information that we know about this new iPhone SE. And then at the end of the video, I'm going to give you my best buying recommendation advice. So first off, the design. Literally no one was surprised with this new iPhone SE 2020 edition. It keeps the same exact design as the iPhone 8. It has a 4.7-inch Retina display with a top and bottom bezel, a home button with Touch ID, aluminum sides, a glass back with wireless charging, and IP67 water resistance for 1 meter at 30 minutes. However, even though we knew what this phone would look like, there is one interesting design note here, and that is that even though the iPhone SE comes in the classic colors like black and white, the white version has black borders on the front. Thanks to Ralph in the Discord for pointing out that this was first seen on the iPhone 5C, but not since then. It also comes in a product red version with the same black front. Now, even though this does look like an iPhone 8, the insides are a different story. The new 2020 iPhone SE now comes with the very powerful A13 processor. Apple even pitches this as the same chip that comes inside of the iPhone 11 Pro. This is the most powerful mobile phone CPU on the market, and it's being packed into an incredibly budget-friendly phone, which of course retails for that magic $399 price point. Now, even though it does come with an A13 chip, we still have no confirmation on how much RAM this phone comes with. We're going to have to wait for the Geekbench scores before we can determine that, but based on rumors, we are projecting the RAM to be at least 3 gigabytes. Regardless, the A13 being in this phone obviously means that this phone is going to be able to run all of the modern iPhone apps, and I would assume it's going to get at least 5 years of iOS software updates. So $399 for the same exact power as the iPhone 11 and the iPhone 11 Pro, a $1,000 phone. That is pretty awesome. Now, battery life is being quoted to be about the same as the iPhone 8 at 13 hours of continuous offline video playback, which is surprising considering the more power-efficient A13 chip and the battery gains of the recent flagship iPhones. The iPhone SE will also support stereo speakers for wider stereo sound. Now, probably the biggest question when we were talking about rumors for this 2020 iPhone SE was the camera, and it's kind of a mixed bag. Now, I say this because the original iPhone SE was such a winning combination, mostly for two factors. Number one, it had the same flagship processor at the time as the iPhone 6s, so this current 2020 iPhone SE is doing the same thing. That's good there. Now, the other thing about that original SE is it also had the same exact camera as the iPhone 6s, and that was a pretty good camera at the time. So the original SE had the same processor and the same camera, probably some of the most important decisions when buying a phone. Now, do you want the good news or the bad news first about this camera? Well, I honestly think that this iPhone SE looks like it's going to be a great phone, so let me start with the positive news first. So first of all, we are still getting a single lens camera system at 12 megapixels, and the good news is that Apple is bringing portrait mode over to the iPhone SE's single camera system, and it's enhanced over the iPhone XR's version, allowing for portrait mode with all 6 lighting effects. Furthermore, the front-facing camera can also do portrait mode now, which is the first time ever an iPhone is doing portrait mode in the front-facing camera without the True Depth Face ID system. And that's really curious. It doesn't have those True Depth sensors from the Face ID system in there, so I'm really curious to get this iPhone SE and test out how good the front portrait mode is. Furthermore, the iPhone SE has the new Quick Take video feature, just like the iPhone 11. The other good news is that you can get 4K 60 frames per second on the rear camera, but only 4K 30 FPS for extended dynamic range. The iPhone 11 can do extended high dynamic range all the way up to 4K 60 FPS. Another bit of bad news is that the front-facing 7 megapixel camera on the iPhone SE is still limited to just 1080p video with no options for 4K. The iPhone SE also gets enhanced Smart HDR that the iPhone 11s have, but here's where there's some even more bad news for me. I'm seeing no mention of the iPhone 11's impressive night mode for low light shots, as well as the new Deep Fusion mode for enhanced sharpness and clarity. Now, missing Deep Fusion mode isn't the biggest thing, but I was really hoping, and I was talking a lot about this in my previous videos on the iPhone SE, that this $400 phone would be getting night mode because of the A13 Bionic chip. And from everything I'm reading in these press releases and on Apple's website, there is zero mention of night mode. So I'm guessing it's not there. And honestly, I'm a little bit disappointed about that. I think that would have been one of the best camera features to add rather than doing all this enhanced portrait mode stuff. I think most users would benefit from better low light shots, and the iPhone 11 does an amazing job at low light photography. So really sad if that's not going to be on the $400 iPhone SE. Overall, the iPhone SE camera is looking like a step up from the iPhone 8 camera and maybe even the iPhone XR camera thanks to the enhanced portrait mode, but I'll need to do some real-world testing to confirm that. Okay, the thing you probably really want to know in this video is when can I order it and for how much? The iPhone SE will be available to pre-order this Friday, April 17th at 5 a.m. Pacific Date Time. Again, the starting price for the iPhone SE comes in at $399 for a 64GB configuration. You can also get a 128GB configuration at $449 and a 256GB option at $549. Now that's just about all the information you need to know about this new 2020 iPhone SE. Now, like I usually do in these before you buy videos, I like to give some buying advice at the end. Now, my first little bit of honest buying advice would be to maybe spend just a little bit more money. I know $399 is a great price point, and even for 64GB, which I know would be fine for some people, it's hard to complain at a $400 price point, but for just $50 more, you can literally double your storage, and if you're taking tons of pictures and videos or downloading lots of apps, that 128GB is going to be a lifesaver in how you use your phone, especially if you plan on keeping this phone for 3 or more years. Trust me, if you plan on keeping this phone for a while, spend the extra $50 now and don't regret it later. Well, how about other options? The iPhone lineup is incredibly diverse now and has a ton of different pricing options at every level. The iPhone SE looks like it's going to be a great phone, but it still does have one weakness. It's only coming in at one size at 4.7 inches. That 4.7-inch size might be too small for some people, or some people might want a more modern design phone with reduced bezels and other advanced features like Face ID. Even though the iPhone XR will be a bit slower than the SE because of the A12 chip, it is still a solid phone, especially if you want a bigger display, and it starts at $599 for the 64GB option. Furthermore, it looks like the iPhone XR will have better battery life than the iPhone SE, so that is something to consider. Of course, if you're disappointed like I was with the lack of night mode on the iPhone SE, you should probably consider the iPhone 11. The iPhone 11 starts at $699 for 64 gigabytes. It has an extra ultra wide angle camera, comes with the A13 chip, so it's the same power as the SE, obviously has Face ID, 4K video at 60 FPS with extended dynamic range, and it does 4K 60 FPS on the front facing camera as well. Of course, there's also the iPhone 11 Pro and Pro Max, which if you're in the market for an iPhone SE, I can't imagine you going all the way to the top tier $1,000 phone, but the main benefit for those models is the longer battery life and OLED displays. Now, don't get me wrong, these are just additional options to consider, and I'm not saying this iPhone SE is a bad phone. On the contrary, I am really excited to get the iPhone SE, and I think it's going to be a great option for people who are looking for a $400 iPhone. But anyway, hopefully this video helped you out, and hopefully you learned something new about the iPhone SE. If you did, make sure you give me a like if you want to see more from my channel, including a future review of the iPhone SE. Make sure you're subscribed. Also, be sure to let me know in the comments below, what do you think about the brand new iPhone SE? If you want to support the channel out in any way, make sure you check out some of the links in the description. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Take care, everyone.